Okay, so today we're going to talk about factoring by grouping. And so the basic methods, anytime you have four terms, you want to use this method. So you can see there's four terms right there. This is factoring by grouping territory. So the first step would be to group the terms into two groups of two terms. So like 2 in the first group plus 2 in the second group. There really needs to be a plus in between the two groups. So plus another two groups. So what I do is whatever is inside of there goes inside that first parentheses. I don't change the sign of anything, in other words, when I do this. So this would be 6x cubed minus 9x squared. The sign did not change. Whatever is here as the second two terms becomes inside my second group. Again, do not change the sign. So this is a negative 2xy plus 3y. Be careful on that negative. That's where a lot of students will like change the sign of something in there. I just rewrote those terms inside of that second parentheses. So then the second step, if you're doing this, is to do the, so second step is to take out the GCF. So take out the GCF of each group. Take out the GCF. So here you're going to pull out a GCF. I guess that would be, looks like 3x squared times 2x minus 3 plus. Take out the GCF here. Now be careful. Remember, we never want a leading coefficient that's negative, so I don't like that negative. So I'm going to take out a negative, and it looks like a y comes out as well. Negative y times 2x. That was a plus, now it's a minus 3. And what should happen, at least you're hoping happens, is that this and this match. So if that matches, that's a very good sign. So the third step is if and only if. So if, big if, the parentheses match, which they do, then you can regroup into your factors. So you basically just regroup those, kind of like pulling out the GCF. But only if the parentheses match. So if the parentheses don't match, you can write could not factor, or you could try it again, sometimes putting the first and third terms, the second, fourth terms, something like that, change the order will, on a really tough problem, help you to solve it. In a lot of cases, it just can't be factored. If those don't match, you haven't been, so far I haven't been successful in factoring, but once they match, then I can regroup and I'll have my factors. So one of them is going to be 2x minus 3. And then one's going to be leftover, which is 3x squared minus y. And if you're not sure if you got it right, you could always just double check, just kind of, multiply it out. 2x times 3x squared is 6x cubed. Negative 3 times 3x squared is negative 9x squared. And keep going and just check it. Never a bad idea. You might want to just try this, stop the recording, try that one on your own, see if you can do it on your own. I'm going to keep going and do it. But I really want you to work that out. So again, the key there is I want you to take the first two terms, put them in the first parentheses. And even though it's negative, I want you to put it in parentheses just like that. So don't change the sign of anything. Pull out the GCF. This one's a little easier, this minus. Plus negative 3 times x minus 2. Because they match, I've got it. Regroup it. X minus 2 times x squared minus 3. So now let's factor trinomials. So these have three terms, and the leading coefficient's not 1. So that's the key. That makes this much tougher than the stuff we did really yesterday. So let's do that. So let's just use a guess and check method. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll show you the method that I like the best to factor. So normally we put x and x here, but that's that one has 2 there. So one of these, it has to have a 2. And then you're really kind of deciding, and you have to make a decision on this, is maybe this is going to be 10 and 1. That could be, or reverse it, right? Or maybe this is going to be 5 and 2, or again, maybe reverse that. So I would just kind of temporarily kind of pull those up there in there. So, and you're really looking at one thing. You're looking at this middle coefficient there is 1. So does outside and inside add up to be 10? So 10 and 2 do not add up to be 1. So I don't think that's the combination we need. Oops, I don't know why that came separately there. So we have, now I'm going to put the 10 over this side. So 1 and 20 definitely don't work. So I'm going to toss those to the side. 1 and 10 is not the way to go here. Maybe I'll be lucky and one of these guys will work. So 5 and 4, oh, I like that. 5 and 4 could add up to 1. The bigger number would have to be positive here. So in this case, I think the 5 would have to be positive and the 2 negative, and you've got it. You always double check you're right, foil it out, make sure it works, and you got it. Let's try that same problem using a different method. So this method has a name. This is my favorite method for this kind of problem. And so it's called the AC method. So the AC method. So the way that works, it's based off of, do you remember doing quadratic formula when you had ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is the coefficient of x squared and c is the constant at the end? So when I say a times c or AC method, you basically, first step is do a times c, which in this case would be 2 times negative 10, which is negative 20. Second step, factor a times c. So let's factor that a bunch of different ways if we can. So let's see, factoring negative 20. So 1 and 10, or 1 and 20, whoops. 2 and 10. 3 doesn't go into 20, but 4 does. 4 and 5, I think I'm done. Okay, so now we want to find the factors. Let's see that. So this third step, find the factors that add to make B, When I say B, I mean the coefficient. B is the coefficient in front of X. In that case, it's 1. So which one of those add up to make 1? So 1 and 20 don't add to 1. 2 and 10 don't add to 1. 4 and 5 could if, and again, this is negative 20. So if the 4 was negative and the 5 is positive, I think that actually works, right? So to split up that, so the fourth step, the last step, is use the factors you just found, in our case, negative 4 and 5, to split up the middle term, So I'm going to write this as negative 4x plus 5x. And then this would be 2x squared minus 10. And now we're going to group. See, at this point, you're done with the AC method. Now you have 4 terms. Factor by grouping is the way to go. And so you want to group those, right? Plus sign in between. So the first 2 terms, 2x squared minus 4x, 5x minus 10. We're going to factor out the GCF. I guess it'd be 2x times x minus 2 plus 5 times x minus 2. The parentheses match, so you're going to regroup. And you got 2x plus 5 and x minus 2. It's kind of a foolproof way of factoring. We get the same answer we got a minute ago, but it's guaranteed. So in a tough problem, you might want to default to AC. If you feel like, oh, I could probably guess and check this pretty quick, you might want to do guess and check. It's good to know both methods. So I encourage you to potentially know both methods of doing this. Look for perfect squares. So what I mean by that is, I don't know if you recognize this right away, but when I saw that first term, I saw that last term, I thought to myself, okay, 16 is a perfect square. Z squared is a perfect square. 9 is a perfect square. So if you start factoring this, I would not start with 16 and 1 or 9 and 1 or 8 and 2. Like if they're perfect squares, always just start with, I'm just take the square root of 16 Z squared. That'd be 4Z and 4Z. 9 is a perfect square. And put the square root of 3, so square root of 9, which is 3, for both of them. We're going to try that number first. This is multiply to make a positive, add to make a negative, so these are both minus signs. Let's just check it. Negative 12Z, minus 12Z, that works. You got it. Right, so it's just going to serve you well if you be on the lookout for perfect squares. If it ends and starts with a perfect square, always test the square root of that number first when you're factoring. Just kind of helps out. Try this one. I don't know if you see it, but there's, it's kind of it'd be a tough problem to actually do it. Like You have to distribute, FOIL, combine like terms, eventually factor it. You could do it, but it'd be a lot of work. I see a shortcut. I don't know if you see it, but I see this in both of them. So in other words, the first thing I saw, the thing that kind of popped out to me is the idea of a GCF, right? Both terms seem to have the same 2x minus 3. So I remember we talked about always take out the GCF if you can. So if you see GCF, I'm going to take out the 2x minus 3, put that on the outside. We still got these parentheses here. What's left over inside? That would be 3x plus x minus 1, I guess, because it's left. And so I guess you could simplify that just a little bit, not a ton, but that right parentheses would be 3x plus x is 4x minus 1, and the left-hand side would be 2x minus 3. And you got it. So that's the lesson for today. It was pretty quick. You might not have your own method of factoring, and that's fine if you want to use that, if you're comfortable with it. I just want to give you one that I have liked over the years. If I'm kind of stuck with guessing and checking, I'll just default to the AC method. So that's it. Thanks.